Hello, my friend. Welcome to my bare face. I'm excited about today's video because it is by request. I was asking if anybody was interested in seeing what the Sephora brand had to offer. And I was thinking back to when I had tried a bunch of stuff from Ulta brand, and some of the things that I had tried for that Ulta brand review, I still use today. They're still some of my favorite products. And I feel like, you know, Sephora brand doesn't get a lot of love. And because people were interested, I decided to purchase some things at the Sephora VIB sale from Sephora brand. So if you're interested in whether these products are actually any good or not, hang tight. We're getting into it right now. I purchased what I believe to be, at least for me, a full face. I've got primers, I've got powders, I've got brows, I've got foundation and concealer and eyeshadow and face products. So let's just go ahead and zoom in and get started. Okay, so John is not here to help me focus, so I'm hoping that I did okay and everything looks good. Crossing my fingers, I did okay. All right, I've got my coffee and I am ready to go. So let's go ahead and start with primer. This is the, oh, I forgot my bare ears. Just a second. Gotta get my hair out of the way. Everyone always asks, not everyone obviously, but people always ask me where I got these ears from. These I got at an Ipsy event from a K-beauty brand called Bon Vivant, which I don't think that they exist anymore, but I think you can get similar kinds of things on Amazon. I've seen them at stores in the mall and different things, but I don't think Bon Vivant exists anymore. And I don't even know if they even sold these, but I freaking love these bare ears. So anyway, primer. Let's start with the Sephora Beauty Amplifier Smooth Ultra Smoothing Primer. And I did look up ingredients for these things. I am not a professional. I am an enthusiast. I've been looking up ingredients in cosmetics for years, so I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on it, but I'm not making any guarantees. So basically, you can see what this is made out of right off. It's made out of silicones for the most part. There's a bunch of emollients, other texture ingredients, stuff like that. Hello, editing Jen here. As I was going over the eye primer ingredients, I realized that I actually described here the eye primer ingredients for you instead of the face primer ingredients. So I'm just going to audio version the face primer ingredients here. Basically, it has some humectants to pull water into the skin, and it also has some peptides, which could be good anti-aging ingredients. But the problem is that it's also has a lot of silicones, and that's the major ingredient. So I'm not sure, I'm not a cosmetic formulator, but I wonder how much of the humectant and the anti-aging ingredients are getting into the skin because of the silicones that are also in there. Like, are the silicones blocking the other ingredients from absorbing? I just don't know. It's a question that I have. But that's pretty much the deal with the primer, is that it could hydrate your skin and it could have some anti-aging effects, but for me, I'm not putting too much stock in it. And now back to my voice of the video. And as you can see, it is a pump, which I personally really, really like. And what I've noticed about silicone-based primers is they do help my makeup to last longer. Something about putting on that layer of silicone before I put on a foundation really helps the foundation to adhere to my skin and make it last longer and make it look really pretty. So I am a fan of this. I've really been enjoying it. But is it standout anything you have to have that you can't find anywhere else now? Now this though. Okay, this is the Sephora Best Skin Ever Foundation, and some of you all were telling me how much you love this, and I can see why. I am really enjoying it as well. I did get a shade that I believe is slightly too light for my skin tone, so I do sometimes mix it with my Catrice foundation mixer that deepens it just a little bit, but I don't want to do that today because I want you to see what the foundation is like on its own without anything from any other product. This is about a pump and a half of product, and it really is a good bit of product in there. So as far as ingredients for this, we're mostly dealing with water and silicones in the top of it. You do have alcohol as the 7th ingredient, but I'm honestly not concerned about it because you do have the water and you have humectants and things to pull water into the skin. So I feel like anything that the alcohol would do to dry out my skin, it's not really going to do anything, at least for my skin type, which is normal. Because there's so many things that are moisturizing and hydrating in the rest of the formula, I'm honestly not too concerned about the alcohol. And the alcohol is 7th, it's not like it's 2nd. But you can see it's just a really, really pretty finish. It doesn't break up on my skin. It's absolutely beautiful. I got a bunch of flack for not being a fan of the new Lisa Eldridge foundation. Honestly, this is just my personal opinion, and you can disagree. I would much rather use this over the Lisa Eldridge foundation. I feel like that one, I really like the self-settingness of it, that you don't need to use a powder, but that's really the only thing I like about it. I'm not a huge fan of the finish of it. I don't think it looks really pretty on my skin. It just looks fine. Where I feel like this foundation really gives me a nice soft focus finish, which is what I was looking for in the Lisa Eldridge foundation that's like 3 times more expensive, if not more. So I'm just really happy with this. I am gonna put just a little bit more on because I do wanna show you how it builds. You can really get it up to a more medium coverage. This I would say is like a light medium coverage, but I wanna build it up just a little bit for those of you that do want more coverage, just so you can see that. People ask me sometimes why I go over my lips, and I think it was just drilled into me when I first started doing makeup that when you put foundation on your lips, it helps your lip product to last longer. I don't know if that's real, but it's also so much easier to not have to worry about going around my lips. I just, you know, it's not hurting anything. I go over my brows too. It's just so much easier. But hopefully you can see the difference that it does build up to a more medium coverage, which is as high as I personally like. I'm not a big fan of full coverage foundations. Lasting power on this is also fantastic. I really, really like this foundation a lot. Now let's go in with the concealer. I was a little concerned that this was going to be too thick, too full coverage, kind of like the IT Cosmetics concealer, just because of the way that it comes out. It just reminded me of that, but it's really not. It's very, very nice. You only need the teeniest, tiniest little amount. I'm just gonna start with that much, and I'm gonna go ahead and blend that out. Now, the #1 ingredient in this is hydrogenated polyisobutene, and what that is it's basically a silicone alternative. Look how pretty. Isn't that pretty? I love it. And what's great about that is it's really great to lock in any hydration that you have already in your skin. So if your skin is already moisturized, already prepped for makeup, then you should be good as far as locking that hydration in. I'm so sad that this brush was discontinued from Sephora. This was the Sigma F80, which is my favorite foundation brush, and this is the Pro Press Full Coverage Precision Brush. It's number 67. It doesn't exist anymore, which makes me so sad. If you want to, you can build up this concealer more. I haven't had any trouble with it settling into fine lines, but I honestly feel like I've kind of got the coverage that I want. You know what? Just to show you, let me put a little bit more on just so you can see what it does, but normally I would not put on more at this point. There is some sunflower seed oil in here, which might be a nice moisturizer for people with drier under eyes, but I'm pretty sure it's lower down, so I don't know how much it's really getting into the skin, especially if you're putting it over top of a foundation. Oh my gosh, I love this brush. I have not used this brush in a while, and I forgot. I missed it. I missed this so much. So now we're gonna go in with the Translucent Vegan Loose Setting Powder. This is talc based, and there is some cornstarch in here as well as some kaolin, which might be nice for oil absorption. So if this is a little bit too oily, this is going to absorb that oil, and if you have oily skin, obviously, it should absorb that as well. Not forever, but upon application. This is a BK Beauty brush. They did send me these in PR. I am becoming a BK Beauty by Lisa J fan. I have been so happy with everything that has been sent to me by BK Beauty. The makeup, the brushes, everything. It has just been fabulous. Brow pencil. So this is the Brow Shaper Waterproof Brow Pencil, and it is an angled brow pencil. I know some people really like the ones that are more pencil-like, the ones with the little pointy tips. I personally like these because I feel like it goes on a little bit faster for me for my personal brow shape, but it's not super thick. It's pretty typical compared to other ones that are this triangular shape that I've used before. So the ingredients on this are pretty typical brow ingredients. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen brow ingredients where I was like, wow, that's interesting. Like, brow products typically have, you know, it's like waxes and colorants and like that's it. They're pretty boring. But do they need to be more exciting? Is there anything I can imagine that I would want a company to put in a brow product? Absolutely not. So performance of this, it's pretty typical. I'm not sure if you're noticing, but when I use the spoolie, some of the brow pencil does brush away, which doesn't always happen with all brow products. This is one that I do have to go in twice just to make sure all the sparse spaces in my brows are filled in. It's a fine brow pencil. It's not my favorite. If I hadn't tried better things, I think that I would be very happy with this. But like the Makeup by Mario one is the one that I'm super into right now, and that one doesn't brush away. So that was really my only critique about it. But I mean, it's a good brow pencil. It's not too pigmented in that sometimes when brow pencils are too pigmented, it makes it difficult for it to smooth through the brow. And sometimes if they're not pigmented enough or if they're too hard, then it makes it really difficult for the product to apply. And this is nice right in the middle. It's just I wish that it didn't have the problem with the spoolie where I had to go back in, but really and truly that's kind of nitpicking. All right, eyeshadow primer time. This is the Sephora Beauty Amplifier Prime eyeshadow primer, and I have to say this is probably one of my least favorite things that I got in this purchase. It's too silicone-y, it's too oily. I like more of a less greasy feeling eye primer. I feel like primers like this are more likely for my eyeshadow to crease. It's not my favorite. I also like eyeshadow primers that tend to mute out discoloration. This one does not do that. What this is it's primarily silicones, and I don't like a silicone-based eye primer. I like that more for when I have a foundation that is also gonna have silicones in it. My eyeshadows don't really have that. So I'm not a fan of the formula. I feel like there are other formulas that work better. But I do wanna mention, if you have specifically dry eyelids, this does have jojoba oil and squalane in it, so this may be helpful for people with dry eyes, but honestly, or not dry eyes. I have dry eyes, but I'm not putting it in my eyeball. But if you have dry lids, then you may find a benefit from that. There's also tomato extract in here, which I thought was kind of an odd choice. It's an antioxidant. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's actually gonna do anything in this kind of formula, but you never know, maybe. It's probably not gonna hurt. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go into the eyeshadow palette that I got. This is the I Love palette. This is in, I believe, Deep Cool. They do have a light cool and a medium cool, but I chose the deep cool because I like a nice range from light to deep in my eyeshadow palettes. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. And this is where I remind people, or let people know, if you are new here, that I am not a makeup artist. I am a makeup enthusiast. Now, in this eyeshadow palette, I'm already getting a ton of kick up, but as you can see, the application is really nice. It's going on absolutely beautifully. As far as the ingredients of the eyeshadow palette, honestly, like, it's really pretty typical. It's a mica and talc-based product, and there really isn't anything else of note. There's no carmine, there's no weird pigments, there's like nothing weird happening here. They're just typical eyeshadow ingredients. These, by the way, are Doll 10 brushes. I had gotten these in PR because they were a collaboration with someone that I have met many times, and her name is Makeup Molly on YouTube, and she did this collab with Doll 10, and I still freaking love these brushes. I use them all the time. And it's funny because I haven't heard anything about Doll 10 Beauty in a really long time. I'm just gonna dip back into this one real quick and just blend up here. Okay, so this is interesting. I just noticed that I am getting some significant creasing under my eyes, but I do think it's because of that second layer. So I'm just gonna go ahead and smooth that, and hopefully it won't do it again, but we will see. Boop, all fixed. But the key is to get it to not do it again after I blend it out. I'm gonna go ahead and dip into this guy right here. And I've had a really, really good luck with this eyeshadow palette. It's got a really nice lasting power, and like you can see, it really is going on nicely. I've had some bad experiences with Sephora brand eyeshadow in the past, but this one's been wonderful. I'm gonna dip into this lighter one. Okay, how am I looking? How's it going? What's going on? I feel like it's not as blended in the crease as I want it to be. But the only way to do that is to bring it a little further out than I actually want it. So hopefully, because it's not going this way. So I'm just gonna bring it a little this way. I'm gonna bring that out just a little bit. This is the deep matte shade. Just kind of stamp that out a little bit. Try to blend this a little bit better. I feel like it's a little patchy there. I'm having trouble getting it to fill that little patch. Okay, I'm gonna go in with just my fingertip and try to get this really bright here. But it is the deeper version of this palette, so I might just end up with a deeper, smokier look from this. That's as good as it's gonna get. I think once I do my liner and my mascara, I think it's gonna all come together. Speaking of that, let's put this aside for now. I might do something on my lower lash line in a minute and break out the eyeliner. So this is just their brush tip liner. I personally prefer brush tips because I feel like they bend to the eye better than felt tips. That's just my personal preference. This one is very, very fine. You see how fine that is? It's like super easy to do the wing because it's so fine. And also really easy to get it right in the inner corner.
Nighty night. Get some good rest.
What? Did I say Alexa? I don't think I did. That was weird. As far as ingredients for this, I could not talk about them while I was doing my eyeliner. I was too focused. It's really just water and butylene glycol, which is a humectant to pull the water into the skin, and then a copolymer, which is gonna lock in the water, and then alcohol is the next ingredient to dry down. So I feel like they set up that base in order to combat the alcohol so the alcohol doesn't dry your skin out. So I mean, I have no problem with this formula. It goes on pretty easily. It's not quite as wet as some of the liners that I've used in the past that I like just a little bit better, but the good thing about that is it doesn't seep into my fine lines, so sometimes I'll get like a spidering if it's too wet. I would much rather it be just a little bit drier than too wet, so very happy with this. It's not really matte, but it's not shiny either. It's not like leathery. It's kind of in between. It's a nice liner though, it's decent. And I do really like the very fine point on this. So let's go into the mascara and wait till you see this. I have really been enjoying this. This is the Size Up Volume Extra Large mascara, and it is fabulous. I've really been enjoying this. I really and truly, like again, this is just typical mascara ingredients, just water and pigment and paraffin and synthetic beeswax and stuff like that. It's very typical. I gotta move my mirror a little closer on this one because it's mascara. Now I'm just gonna make this go really fast because nothing is more boring to me than watching someone apply mascara. See, like that second coat, you can see it like really trying to volumize. So, show you the two sides. I mean, the volume is nuts. It doesn't have a ton of length, but the volume is nuts. So if you paired this with a really nice lengthening mascara, it's super money. Super money, is that a thing? I wish it was. I want super money. It definitely really does take those two coats in order to get that volume. First coat is kind of weak, but then the second one, it's like, bam. So if you already have really long lashes, like this is gonna be great for you. If you already have a ton of lashes and you're really looking for length, maybe skip this one. Now, I don't typically have a problem with like flaking and smudging and stuff, especially smudging. I very rarely have a mascara smudge on me, but as far as flaking goes, have no problems at all. All right, now that I've got the top on, I really wanna go back in and do a little bit more on the bottom, and I'm just gonna use this sparkly guy. Just a little bit right there. And yes, I do put eyeshadow on my waterline. I have never had a problem with it, and I really like the way that it looks. And then I'm gonna dip into the lighter one for the inner side, inner corner. There we go. Okay, eyes are done. Let's go into the face. Now, I had purchased a different palette for my Sephora haul, and it was just too deep. So I went in and I exchanged it for this one, and this one is much better. This is the Sephora Microsmooth Multitasking Baked Face Palette, and this is in the shade Enchant. I'm gonna go ahead and use the bronzer shade first and just kind of lightly bronze right under where I put my blush. I know that this is I'm not using it to contour, I'm using it just to warm my face up, before I apply my blush. For the longest time, I was terrified to bronze my forehead because I thought it looked super weird, but the more I've played with it, the more I really like it. I need to make sure I blend it, that's the trick. But what I did realize is I don't like it down here. That's just me. I'm gonna use this, yeah, I'm gonna use this one. Ingredients on this, again, just talc and mica based, very typical. There is some dimethicone in here, silicone stuff, jojoba seed oil, sunflower seed oil, stuff like that. But honestly, I think it's more for the texture of the product than actually meant to go into the skin. I feel like powder products, they don't really have a way to penetrate into the skin very well. I mean, yeah, some of it might, but I don't really take stock of that for like skincare benefits in a powder product. It's probably more for the texture of the actual formula. And I'm gonna leave that nice and light. You can, of course, build it up if you want to. And then let's go ahead and do the highlighter. It's just a really pretty product. I feel like with baked products, they're either really, really good or really, really bad, where they've been baked so much that they're just totally dried out. And I feel like this is one that just goes on really pretty. See, I like that. I like that a lot. Hopefully it's coming off on camera the way I'm seeing it in the mirror because it looks really pretty. And then finally for lips, we're gonna do this one. This is the hashtag LIPSTORIES shade in Yum Yum. It does not smell like cookies. I was a little sad about that. I really wanted it to smell like cookies. Formula-wise, it's again, very typical lipstick formula. There's no real good hydrating, moisturizing ingredients in here. It feels moisturizing on the lips, but it's not really moisturizing. It's just got these topical things in there that that feel good on the lips, but they don't really do anything. I love this 90s brown. It's so pretty. And I'm getting some on my chin. Where is it even coming from? You ever do that, like get makeup on your face and it's like, where did that even come from? That is such a fun shade. It's so fun. And to make it even more fun, I'm gonna dab a little bit of this highlighter in the middle of my lip just because I can. Yes. Ooh, I like that. That's fun. So my friend, there is the finished look. What do you think? What's going on? What do you think? I think it looks really good. I think it looks cute. I'm very happy with it. Let me just go ahead and we'll zoom out and we'll talk final thoughts on all these products. All right, so this is the full look zoomed out. I feel like it gives a different vibe when it's zoomed out. I forgot to tell you about my shirt. So I don't know if you remember this, but this video was epic to my childhood. Take on me, take over me. That, seriously. And then I saw this shirt and I was like, I have to do it. I have to do it, especially this shot right here. That one is the best. He was so cute. Anyway, let's go through these products and I'll tell you what I would recommend, what I wouldn't recommend. Actually, let me look at my under eyes and see if the creasing has gone away. Okay, so there's no more creasing under my under eyes. I honestly have never had that problem before with the concealer, so I do think that it was the 2 layers, but once I blended it out again, it's fine, and I haven't had any problem with it before, so that's the deal on that. Speaking of that, I would recommend the concealer for brightening of the under eyes and covering mild discoloration because that's what I've used it for. Been very much enjoying it. Of course, also really love this foundation. I think it just looks beautiful on the skin, and I love that it's buildable. You can actually make this a light coverage foundation if you want to as well. I've done that. It looks really pretty. Also, very surprisingly, would definitely recommend the eyeshadow palette. It is really good, and I have never had a good experience with Sephora eyeshadow. I was expecting this to be a huge fail, but honestly, very much loving it. The only thing to keep an eye out for is that when you tap your brush in, there is fallout. Also, because it's so pigmented, it can be a little difficult to blend. Kind of reminds me of an ABH eyeshadow formula where it goes on really punchy, sometimes will not blend quite right because the pigment kind of gets a little bit stuck, especially with the deeper shades, but overall, it's a really good palette. I would much rather that problem than when I'm blending to have it just completely blend away. Would also really recommend the lipstick. It's very creamy, it feels really good, lasting power is pretty typical for a lipstick, maybe a tad bit longer than a traditional lipstick, but it just feels good on the lips, pigmentation is good. I have no complaints about it. I also have no complaints about the translucent setting powder. It sets my makeup really beautifully, and it does everything I want a translucent powder to do as far as taking the shine away from the foundation and helping my makeup last a little bit longer. The next products I'm gonna be talking about are the ones that I would recommend, but that I have just some caveats and there are some things that you may not like about them. So with the face palette, I would say if you want less pigmentation, then this is one to go for. It definitely has enough pigmentation, but it doesn't build a lot. It builds enough for me, but maybe for some people it might not be enough, and it may be the tone that I chose because this is meant for lighter skin tones. There is one made for deeper skin tones, so that one probably has a little more punch to it, but it does build nicely and it doesn't overbuild. It doesn't go to clown face, so it is relatively user-friendly, but if you're looking for something with a lot of pigmentation, this is not gonna be it. Other than that, it just performs very, very well. For the mascara, again, a great volumizing mascara, not a great lengthening mascara, so if that's what you're looking for, highly recommend. Brow product, I just have that nitpick with brushing it out that I do have to reapply a little bit, but I mean, it's not the best brow product I've ever used, but it's good. It's good. It's a good, solid brow pencil. With the face primer, the primary use of this is going to be that silicone base to help your makeup last longer. Like I mentioned in editing Jen, I realized I had messed up when I realized I was reading the eyeshadow primer and realized that, yeah, I was reading the wrong one for the face primer. So I know now, but editing Jen still had to come in. This may give a little bit of hydration to the skin, maybe, I don't know, but I wouldn't count on it. I wouldn't count on it for those anti-aging benefits. I would really just, like, you're looking for something to make your makeup last longer, this is gonna be it. I wouldn't count on it for anything else. There are better products for anti-aging, better products for moisture and hydration. And the only one I did not like was the eye primer. And it's just not my personal preference. Again, if you have dry eyelids, maybe this is for you, but anybody else I would not recommend. There's just so many better eye primers out there to use that work better to create a base for eyeshadow, to help eyeshadow last longer. I mean, this is just fine, but it's definitely not my favorite. But overall, this is a huge win from Sephora brands. Huge win. I was very pleasantly surprised. I did not go in with high hopes, did not go in with a lot of faith, and I came out really loving the Sephora brand. But at this point, my friend, it's your turn. In the collective brain of makeup awesomeness where we help each other not to buy crap and to buy things that are totally worth it, I would love to know your thoughts on any of these products. Have you ever tried them? Did you have the same experience as I did? Did you have a different experience? I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments down below because we all have different faces. We all have different skin types, different skin tones. We're all different ages. We all have different preferences. So your experience may be different than mine, and maybe it's the same even though you are different than me. Either way, no matter what, I'd love to know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this more traditional Jen Loves Reviews review. I hope you loved it as much as I loved making it for you. And if you would like to hang out a little bit longer, YouTube should be recommending a couple videos over here for you to watch. But if it is your time to go because you're busy, you got stuff to do, it is no problem at all. Thank you so much for hanging out as long as you did. And mad love to you, and I will see you in a video very, very soon. Bye!